Good morning. How are you? That is the topic of the day. And I also see some of you might be pretty new to the subject. You might be looking at it for the first time. Some of you are learning, in the middle of learning. Some of you might have been, senior people. Traditionally, we call them veterans. So, the cross section of people there. So this is basically to address everybody. Those of you who might be new, you might feel that okay, some topics, if I pick up some topics that might look new to you, but it's fine. My idea is, say, I'm not going to give any syllabus orientation and things like that, because enough of orientation based workshops you might have attended. And if at all you want syllabus orientation, you can log into our YouTube channel. You will get at least 10 different varieties of syllabus analysis related discussions. So I am not interested in that. Nevertheless, what I have to tell you is I am talking about anthropology. This is one puzzle. People have two questions for me every time: what faith you come from and what is your age. Rendu meaningless questions. Both of them are meaningless questions. Faith has no meaning, age is only a number. So that's how things are. On that note, we would actually begin. I know it's pretty cozy out here. Downpour, quite a downpour. That's the reason why we were late, sir. If at all you have joined in the online and you are cursing me for being late, that's how things are. We are almost wading through in the traffic and we have come swimming from our homes. So that's how things are. So it took time for me to change from swimming costume to this and come. So that's how things are. What I am trying to do today is we will pick up certain old question papers. 2014, 2016, 19, etc. Let's see, based on your patience, how long you will be able to tolerate me. Based on that, we will pick up questions and see which would have been a better bet for a student to pick up questions from, which are the scoring questions, which are not. And then if any questions were there that students might have thought in that year that this was something that was unexpected. So we will try to have a look at those things. Are you there? No? So I'm beginning with this. As you can see, we are looking into 2014 question paper, and I will take you to some of the questions. Not very old by any standards. 2014. I hope all of you know this, but still, for the new students, I have to tell, we have to do 5 questions in the entire paper. The paper is generally divided into 2 sections. We have 2 sections, and totally we have to select from 8 questions. So 5 out of 8 questions you have to write. And as we see here, questions 1 and 5 are compulsory. Out of the remaining, 3 have to be attempted, choosing at least 1 from each section. That's what UPSC says. I hope that is clear. So on that note, I am going. What it says is, question 1 and question 5 are compulsory. So in section A and section B, the first question is compulsory. And this question you should be writing each of them in 150 words. So there are 5 questions there. Each of them you will be attempting in 150 words, and each question you are writing for 10 marks. I think this is pretty clear to you. Now, the general theme is, for any 10 marker, we expect the student to write about 100 words. That is the general formula. But then in the case of question number 1 and 5, the examiner clearly mentions to attempt each of them in 150 words. So you are writing to that extent the number of words extra. So here 250 words and elsewhere 250 words. 500 words extra you are writing for the same amount of marks. These are compulsory ones. Now, out of the remaining questions, 3 questions you have to choose, 1 question from each compulsory, 1 additional question, either from section 1 or from section 2. So far it is clear, Emma? Now, there are certain fundamental things people struggle to decide. One question students come up with is, what should be the sequence in which I answer the paper? Is it that I should answer from 1 to 8 chronologically? Because you see, previously, when UPSC was not giving these booklets, now you are given the booklet. You are given the booklet. In the booklet, what happens? For each question, based on the number of words that you have to write, they give you the space. Meaning for 100 words, 1 page they would be giving. Or in general what happens is, if it is a 150 word question, they would give you 3 pages, and then if it is a 100 word question, 2 pages they are giving. I mean, that is how it is. For the general practice of the students, what we tell is, you try to write between 75 to 100 words in a page, so that you understand how many words you have written in a page. Something that we will have to remember here, I will go question by question. First question I am trying to see is it necessary to go in a chronology? So in the previous format what was happening was, we were not required to write in the order, meaning the best that you know, you will write first. Suppose 8th question, I know the best, so I will go with 8th question first. So what you are trying to do in the exam at that time was, you are portraying what was best in you to the examiner first. Examiner also knows that this was the first answer you have written, definitely you will be the best. As you go down, your quality, I mean based on generally, the quality might gradually come down. Your handwriting may go from bad to worse and all those things. Now in this case, what is happening is, examiner has a set booklet. In the sequential order he is giving the questions, and then there is a space that is given. Irrespective of whether you are writing 8th question first or first question first, he is actually seeing from the first question only. Okay. So that place has a disadvantage for the students, not for one but in general for everybody. So what we suggest to the student is, you follow the same formula of giving the best that you know first. Now there was one problem here. I mean, the exam results that had come recently, 2021 exam. We had 2 students who actually went by this format of writing the best first. By the time they came to the later part of the answers, later part of the answer booklet, what they found, I mean, both of them, they actually missed out on one of the compulsory questions. In the compulsory questions, all 10 markers are there, and it is reasonably easier to grab marks from those small questions. And that one has to be very cautious. If at all you are going based on whatever best is known to you, where exactly you are going to fit in these question number 1 and 5 when you are going to answer them, this is one that you will have to be cautious of. This is one. Second way of choosing the sequence is, some of us might be good at writing shorter questions, some might be good at writing longer questions. So longer in the sense, what we have now is maximum 20 marker only, 10 marks, 15 marks and 20 marks. Most often we find 10 and 20 markers. But in the trial test that I give to you, I generally incorporate 15 markers also, so that we are preparing you for any such kind of eventuality in the exam. Sir, those of you who might be writing some of the state service exams, you might have seen 5 markers also in your state services. Say you are writing KPSC, Karnataka Public Service Commission exam. You have 50 word questions also. When you have 50 word questions, how much you are going to write, that's a big puzzle actually. So entire school, say diffusionism, entire school he gives for 50 words. What exactly should go into that? Fortunately or unfortunately, so far we did not have such kind of experiment in UPSC where 50 word questions are given. But then we are trying to train you with 15 markers also. Okay? When I am saying 15 markers, in the test practice, I give you say 3 pages to write. Meaning I am giving you place for 150 words. The reason why I am doing this is, the same question, there is a possibility you may get for 150 words or you may get for 100 words only. So I am training you in that fashion to answer a question with 150 words. Are you there? I am saying this because in the test batch, one of the students had this question to say that in the regular exam I did not see 15 marker, but then you have given 15 marker. One thing is, if UPSC asks such a question 15 marker, you will not question UPSC why did you ask. You should not ask your teacher also. We actually do it so that you prepare in the best possible manner. So this is 150 words. So you have to decide on one, that is I write from the best of my answers. Second thing is, if I am good at 20 marker, maybe perhaps I would want to attempt the bigger questions first. Or if you think that these small things I can quickly finish off, because the kind of familiarity I might be having with those topics, I might have already written those questions, so I might quickly think of finishing this 1 and 5. 1 and 5, if you have finished, 100 marks you have already attempted, and then rest of the questions you can focus on. This is second way of selecting the sequence of writing answers. Are you there? So when I am giving you these schemes, you can pick up one based on which is more appealing for you, which works well for you. Okay? Third thing, what I found in some of these students is, let me pick up this. Say in the second, in this question, I'm not trying to give you any structure or something. Casually I'm looking at it. There are 3 questions here, 2 15 markers and 1 20 marker is there. What are the different stages of growth? Describe them in detail. Klinefelter and other syndrome. You have high altitude adaptation, etc. For example, you know these 2 questions well, and you do not know this. You do not know this much. You might have a broader idea. You may not know that much. And then, so you have to select one question compulsorily out of the remaining 2. I am looking at the other question. Here what is happening, same formula, you have 20, 15 and 15. One says that what are the factors affecting genetic frequencies, how apes and chimpanzees are differing, menarche and menopause. Say for example, I have no case studies about this. I have no case studies, but I know broadly what may be the phenomena. So what is happening in that question also, I have 15 marks to compromise. Here also I have 15 marks to compromise. I have another question. Just have a look at this. Aging, senescence kind of things in there. Archaeology, Neolithic. Now I am in a fix. Suppose I know these 2, I don't know much. I will select from the rest of the 2. But then here also, if I have the same formulae, these 2 I am good at, this I am not so very good at. I am at the same thing. Now you have a problem. Where to pick up, which question to pick up. Generally what happens is, whenever student goes to select which questions I have to attempt in the exam, you might be looking at the questions that you know the best, and maybe the one that are highly scoring for you. You are looking from that perspective. If at all you are doing from the other way around, it will be easy for you to eliminate. In the sense, when you study, you will be trained in identifying which questions not to attempt. So if you know pretty well, say for example, randomly I am saying, sir, suppose I might have told you this you don't attempt. It may not give you good marks. So you have eliminated this question altogether. You have eliminated. And then one more question is there where only mediocre answer you know. Meaning this question is getting eliminated. So the moment you pick up the question paper, one thing you have to see is, if at all your teacher has said that see these are the questions you are not supposed to answer, so you have to identify which are the questions you are not supposed to touch. Based on that, it will be easy for you to pick up from which rest of the questions I can pick up my questions. Are you there? Is that clear? This is a very, very valuable information, sir, because mostly people go by the other way around. You get attracted to what looks to be scoring for you, but examiner knows to add it along with, to jumble it along with a question that should not have been attempted. So if that you are not focusing on, you are picking up that question which might be very appealing to you, you have finished writing. But the moment you have started writing the second one, which we said you are not supposed to write, soon after one paragraph you are clueless, you don't have stuff to write. Okay? So you will have to identify which questions not to be attempted in the exam. This is number 3. Second, of course, most of you might be getting trained under what should be the look and feel of my handwriting, whether I am able to read my own handwriting, whether I am able to sustain my handwriting, even if I am writing say 20 pages, 30 pages continuously when I am practicing at home, if my handwriting is remaining the same. See, I am not saying that it will be 100% same. Naturally, when you are continuously writing for 3 hours, there is a possibility that your handwriting may slightly go down in quality. But then, knowing fully well, we know very well that we have to write exams back to back. We have to write morning 3, morning 3 hours, evening 3 hours, and continuously 2.5 days if you have to write the exam. You know this pretty well before you are going to the exam. So it means that we have to train ourselves in that fashion. So generally what I do is, when we give you practice tests, we give this back to back kind of a thing, because that calls for both physical and mental strength. Sometimes I see students who know things, but then they won't write, they won't complete because they are tired. I mean, when I say that because he was tired he did not write, that looks so meaningless. Suppose somebody did not clear prelim, you have cleared prelim and you are tired attempting the exam. I mean, that looks so absurd. But then people have done that. Sometimes you become so low in energy that things stop flowing from your pen. That is where you will have to train yourself to work in that stressful situation. Writing hence is important. It might look very familiar to your answer, you have learnt it by heart. You think that okay, I can get it back because I have learnt it by heart. But then you will know the speed of writing, the way we think, the way we say out things are at different speed when compared to the speed at which we are writing. That's how things are. It's a different story that I need not have to. We will be going, Pooja, we will be talking about that, which questions to choose. Some of them we will try to do. Sequence we have spoken about, how to select we have said, handwriting we spoke about, and now let me look at this particular paper. This is 2014 paper. Sometimes what happens is, see, I am looking at the compulsory questions. No second thought about it. There is no choice. You have to write. And as I might have already said to you earlier, every year when I give you the list of questions just before your exam, you will be practicing them thoroughly. Apart from whatever tests you might be writing, whatever material that you might have studied, learning those questions. I mean, I don't say that I don't say that these alone would come, but then somehow God had been kind enough that from the list of things that we identify, things have been coming. I mean, I can only say that that is God's grace. Because student might come up and say, मैम ये लिस्ट तो आपने दिया, अगर ये लिस्ट में से नहीं आए तो क्या करें? तो बाकी के जो पढ़े हुए उसमें से लिखो. I mean, what can I say? But then you see, you have to have a broader understanding of the entire subject. Because 10 markers are there. There is you would be caught very badly if at all they are compulsory questions. And the trick examiner places, in the first 5 questions, he will try to place one question that would definitely affect your morale. I mean, this is a psychological game, sir. So you will have to train yourself that, even if a couple of questions are there which I haven't heard of in my entire preparation, it doesn't matter. In the rest of the questions, I will try to maximize my score, I will try to give my best. And the reason why I am saying this is, the general tendency among students is, out of the entire paper, even if one odd question looks to be unfamiliar, they would try to pass a judgment that exam bahut tough ho gaya, year after year tough ho raha hai. I mean, these are the kind of things that go on. So do not get carried away by those statements. Because suppose you are going to write your exam in 2023, preliminary exam if you are writing, and the upcoming 2022 main exam is there, it might so happen that one odd question might be there which you might not have heard in your entire preparation, and then your senior says that, see, this is how the UPSC filters people and blah blah blah. He has a mic to talk and you have ears to listen, and that's, so do not do that. Take it? So that's the reason why I always say, do not keep your ears too much open. Don't lend your ears to every passerby. They are very precious. Keep them to yourself. Now here, as most of you know, that there are should and must questions to write. I have mentioned this several times earlier also, that whether you like it or not, we have to talk about, we have to study prehistory, we have to study archaeology. These are mandatory stuff. And because the discipline of anthropology focuses on evolution, any concept related to evolution of any damn thing, you have to see to it that you attempt. Okay. Now we will try to see how many questions had come in 2014 from archaeology, etc. We'll try to make a count. This is one. Second thing is, theory is one. Anthropological theory or anthropological thought, cultural thought, whatever names that you give to it. Thought is one wherefrom, even if a single direct question comes, you are not supposed to miss that question. Of course, that is based on how you are weighing vis-a-vis the other questions that are combined along with that. And you already know, I have said this to you earlier also, that throughout the syllabus, whichever question is asked, every time we have to see to it that theory becomes a part of your answers. Okay. It might so happen that suppose you have started studying with Indian society, for example. Indian society is something which is specific to Indian study. When I am speaking about thought, I am talking about in general anthropological theory. Now you might get a confusion. See, I haven't studied anthropological theory. How do you expect me to write anthropological theory related things in Indian society related questions? Okay. But then, see, when we discuss things with you, at several places we keep talking about the general theoretical personalities. Like, even if you are studying Indian society, we might have used people like Tyler, we might have used people like Boas. So when we are doing this, we are trying to borrow thinkers from there. This is number one. Second thing is, now suppose you have finished studying Indian society, if you are doing a theory of anthropology. Now when we are doing anthropological theory, we will try to see to it that whatever concepts you have already covered, we will try to apply theory to those concepts also. Okay. So what happens is, while learning standalone topic of Indian society, you might not be having a clear understanding of general anthropological theory, but then later, when general anthropological theory is studied, you will be in a position to apply that theory related thinkers to Indian society also. I mean, for an example I am mentioning. So throughout the subject, you have to make it a point that from the theory, thinkers have to come. You should not be thinking that, okay, this particular thinker never came to India, he never worked in India, why is it that I should be using him in explaining, say, Indian society, or maybe why should I use him in archaeology, or why should I use him in maybe biological anthropology. When we are saying this, we will have to establish a connect. You might be having certain thinkers who might have worked in biological anthropology also along with sociological anthropology. So we will have to know pretty clearly which are these thinkers, and then we will have to try to, are you there? No. Let me have a look at questions of archaeology first, then I'll talk about the rest of the thing. You keep noting down the numbers, sir, so that because that is getting, yeah, maybe I'll do this. Here the questions from archaeology, partially we have this one, subdivisions of anthropology. In subdivisions of anthropology, there is some part that is related to archaeology, but that is not a direct one. Now let me take you down. I am trying to look at evolution and archaeology related questions. This is one. A very lovely question. Is culture unique to humans? Critically examine. This is a question we use in archaeological studies. We also use in primatology. We also use in primatology. So one question there. If I am taking here 15 marker, can I go down, sir? First I am looking at archaeology, then I will go to anthropological theory. Asian Homo erectus. That is one in the compulsory questions. Where exactly questions are coming, whether it is in option kind of questions or in the compulsory questions, that we will also have to be clear about. There is one other question here, difference between humans and chimpanzees, also a question in evolution and archaeology. Difference between humans and chimpanzees. Dating methods in archaeology bring the important aspects of each of the methods. We also have another question, Neolithic culture of India. How many totally? About 6 are there. Even if I am removing the first one, which is an indirect question, rest of the ones are direct question. So even if I am taking 5, how many marks? How many marks? 70 odd marks. So between 70 and 80 marks, so 75. That is coming from archaeology. And in compulsory questions it is there. Apart from in the compulsory questions, so this is one where both the questions coming from archaeology, 1, 2. So in the second section, 2 questions are having archaeology and primatology related questions. So if at all you have not done archaeology related ones, you don't have a choice, you have to go only for this particular question. Okay. And out of these questions, there are a few. For example, students who might be coming from biological sciences, they might get attracted to the syndromes. And the moment you see them, you get pretty excited, and you try to write a huge lot of information, whatever you might have studied in your medical science or life sciences, wherever you might have studied. I mean, you try to dump the whole lot of information. Maybe perhaps you'll also be trying to give the solutions for it, the treatments for it, kind of things. But when it comes to this particular paper, our expectation is you should be attempting these questions only if we have case studies from the discipline of anthropology. Else you don't try to touch them. Even in this particular case, stress in high altitude adaptation, and how is it different in the native highlanders and the other people who might have either migrated or traveled to the highlands. So unless otherwise you have the case studies there, you will not be in a position to answer these questions. Pranit, you really can't do anything. His question is, what if we do not know first 5 questions of anything? What can we do? Meaning there is something absolutely wrong with your preparation, you have to correct your preparation. And then if you don't know anything, you really can't bluff or things like that. And you can see how often we can actually revise and things like that. See, if at all you have finished your course or something, maybe daily writing is mandatory. See, those of you who are attending the course now, your course might get to a close, say, randomly I'm saying, say by November, December, if at all you are closing. Your prelim exam is in the month of May. And generally, New Year is an eve, like, you get ready for the prelim. That's a new chapter in your life. You decide, you take an oath, prelim nikalna hai. So all the mains related stuff you throw away, kind of. Don't do that. Because your journey with the main should continue, irrespective of, irrespective of whether you have completed the entire thing or not. Say in your case, I have finished my optional, I have finished my course, and what I should do. So as long as you are doing your course, maybe you are giving about 5 to 6 hours every day to your optional subject. And once the course is done, I am nowhere in the vicinity, you have 3 hours in your pocket. I will not disturb you. This particular time can be used constructively. Maybe partly you are using for your prelim or other kind of activities, and then see to it that not less than an hour every day you are writing some questions or the other. So you will actually be picking up speed. Sometimes you may write the same questions that you have already written, sometimes you may pick up the new questions and write. Writing old questions again and again is also very important. Say for example, in your test I might have given some questions, certain you might have answered, I have evaluated and gave to you. Do not keep them aside. When I have evaluated, I wrote, see, generally what I do is, if you have written an answer of 150 words, I would equally contribute. Meaning, I won't leave you there. And I'm not like, okay, you have done well, continue the same thing in the exam. No. Everywhere there is some kind of an improvement or the other. Maybe you should have added something else. I would try to dump some more information so you can experiment with this. And when I am doing that, some people get offended. हम कितना भी लिखो आप बोलते हो कि और ये लिखो और कहाँ से लिखें, kind of a thing. See, that is my job. That is my job to tell you. See, if at all couple of more these points are added, maybe perhaps your answer would look much more appealing. So the question people ask is, how will I do that? Because I am already running out of space. See, there is always space. You try to experiment with your answer. You try to see where I can condense, where exactly I can write in a short form. Maybe somewhere I can use pointers, somewhere I can use a small diagram, some small flow chart where space is already there. I may perhaps use it. So this is what is necessary. Once we evaluate and give the script to you, your duty will be to rewrite the answer. I mean, only those people will improve in the exam where there is this kind of an effort. You are not putting aside your answer script, but then you are going to revisit, rewrite, so that rewritten answer you might memorize and take it to the exam. Okay? And when I am saying memorizing is important, not that you will dump the same thing. Memorizing would help when same question comes. Many times what happens is, certain questions that you have tried here, verbatim you see the same question there. Verbatim you see the question there, you take my word. Now if that happens, whatever you have memorized here, whatever you have tried here, the same thing will go in the exam. So you are saving your time to that extent. And where there is some kind of a twist, you have memorized something, there is a twist in your answer, meaning you have to think a bit over your answer, modify and then reframe and write. This we will have to do. Are you there? Are you there? Now, some questions are there, I will take these. You can also keep asking your questions. Somebody is asking what exactly is a case study. Case study is something like, and where can we find the case studies? See, which case study to attach with these sort of questions. Sir, for each and every topic, I may not be here give you the case studies because that's a whole discipline, but let me tell you, for a general understanding, in the subject of anthropology, what is very important is to write the examples. This you might have come to know even if you are in the beginning of your preparation. Okay. For every question there has to be an example. And that's the nature of the subject. If you are simply telling stories, it is not appealing. It is not the chemistry of the subject. You have to give evidences from the field. And I mean, if you have syllabus document with you, look at chapter 8, paper 1, research methodologies. Do you find this word case study? Read out.
Fieldwork tradition in anthropology, distinction between technique, method and methodology, tools of data collection, observation, interview, schedule, questionnaire, case study, genealogy.
Stop. So case study is one of the techniques that is clearly included in your syllabus of fieldwork traditions. What you should keep in mind is every example that you are writing is not case study. This many senior students also do not know. Without knowing, people pass, they are in service and things like that. So academically speaking, not every example is a case study. Case study refers to an example where there is a situation, there is a problem, somebody is analyzing that problem, and maybe perhaps they are trying to provide a solution. They may not, but then they are trying to provide a solution. So case study is a special example wherein there is a problem and an academician or an anthropologist is studying that problem, and based on what he is observing and studying, may be trying to provide a solution. Are you there? In some of the case studies, there is mere reporting of the problem, they may not be giving a solution. Okay. So for instance, I will give you some references like that. One question we had seen, high altitude adaptation, for example. When it comes to high altitude adaptation, we don't technically call it a case study. Because we don't look at it as a problem. We are looking at different populations living in different altitudes. There are a few that are high altitude living populations. Thankfully, across the world, we do not have many high altitude regions where people are living. We have only a limited number of regions where people are living. Maybe Tibet is there, Nepalese high mountain populations are there, or maybe Andean people are there. So very few people. And what anthropologists tried to do was they tried to compare these people. They tried to compare. They tried to tell who is more capable of sustaining that high altitude sickness. And in spite of having high altitude sickness, they are in a position to perform, do their duties. There is an efficiency there. When I am speaking of all this is not a case study. You are trying to give a reference about a particular population who have been living there, who are successful in maintaining their efficiency. It is not that they only are efficient, their children are efficient because they stayed there for a long time, several generations they have been living. Sherpa, for example, you might have heard about Sherpas. Now, these people, the Nepalese highlanders who had been living there for generations, they have a different body makeup and all this. When I am saying this is an example, not a case study. You got my point? Similarly, tell me any topic that you like. Or बताइए any topic that you like. ఏదైనా పర్లేదు, అలా చిలిపిగా చూడదు, ఏదైనా పర్లేదు. మ్యారేజా, చేసుకోవడమా, చూడడమా? వాట్ ఈజ్ యువర్ హాబీ అంటే మ్యారేజ్ అంట. మ్యారింగ్ ఈజ్ ఎ హాబీ. కెన్ మ్యారేజ్ బి ఏ కేస్ స్టడీ? If marriage is a problem, that's a case study. If marriage is a problem, that's a case study. You find issues with marriage, particular kinds of issues. Domestic violence is there. Wife beats badly the husband. So that might be one particular kind of a case study. You are trying to get it resolved kind of. If you are giving examples for marriage, like monogamy examples are there, polygamy examples are there, dowry system examples are there, examples, they are not case studies. You understand? But then suppose there is a project under construction. Government of India is planning a project. And because of the construction of the project, thousands of people might get displaced. Okay. Now, there is a resistance from the people. And government wants to construct a project there. Come what may, I will construct. But then these are the people who are disturbing me. Now what should I do? So a committee or commission is appointed. They are studying and then they are trying to give us a report. Why is it that these people are stopping the process? What should be the government's approach? What should be these people's approach? When we are doing this, there is a problem situation and the anthropologist there is picking up that situation, trying to examine the reasons for the problem, the gravity of the problem. He is trying to give a solution for the problem. Are you there? This is a case. Take care. Similarly, say there is one population where you find huge incidence of a Down syndrome. Huge incidence of Down syndrome. Now, administration and the people belonging to that culture group are in a fix. Why is it that so many children are born with Down syndrome? They might quickly conclude that this might be curse of the gods. Generally it happens in the simple societies. Every accident or every danger to the health is because of the wrath of supernatural. You have committed some sin, you were into maybe same clan marriages and hence the gods have punished by giving such kind of things. But we are not going by that. We might pick up that population, try to go back to figure out why is it that such a huge incidence of Down syndrome is happening. You might be looking at it, is it because of very close skin marriages that is there, or maybe because several women are getting married at a higher age, or childbirths are happening at a higher age. Or is it that there is a hereditary element, that in this particular population there is a hereditary nature of particular kinds of syndrome to acquire from one generation to the other generation. When we are doing this is once again going to that one particular group of people or the families that are affected. Based on that you are trying to generate the entire literature and trying to give a solution. I think by now it is clear the meaning of case study. Amala if it is your personal problem, you approach me separately, I'll guide you. And couple of other questions. Pranit is asking, is example mandatory for every question? Definitely it is mandatory. Otherwise it will not be really juicy for the examiner. I mean, you will have to actually present with the examples and references only then. So you may ask, what if I don't write examples? You will not get marks. I mean, it's your take. And till today I haven't read even a single book about anthropology. After joining class, is it possible to score 300 plus? You join, then we'll see. See, I mean, that's what I generally tell the students. Do not have a pre-learning session. See, if it is general studies, we recommend to the student to do some kind of a pre-course preparation and come. There is some literature that you should be studying before you join. If you walk into the class, somebody is coming up with a huge book of constitution, and then the teacher is directly starting with particular schedules and all, it may be very difficult for you to make a head and tail of it. You should have by that time touched the Constitution of India, and then you might have seen how, what about it kind of. But that is not the case with the discipline like anthropology. What I find in this discipline, because after 30 years of teaching whatsoever, what I found is that there is a problem of unlearning. See, when we try to give an altogether new subject to a student, there should be a particular methodology through which the subject is inculcated into the student's mind. I mean, that's how it is. So, कुछ लोग जिद पे बैठेंगे, नहीं मुझे क्लास से पहले कुछ ना कुछ पढ़ना ही पढ़ना है kind of. So I tell some kind of a book, you don't like it. Or I say that, so and so book you study, and in that book don't read from cover to cover. I will tell you pinpointedly, see chapter 10 and chapter 11 only you study. But the human tendency is, why is this lady asking me to study only these two things? Why should not I study the rest of the things? So you will start studying the things which I asked you not to study. That's the general human tendency, reverse psychology that we have. We do exactly the opposite of what is actually said. And there you encounter several things that do not enter your mind. And you come to a conclusion quickly that this subject is not for me. It's as simple as it is. That is the reason why when a match comes to you, when parents get you a match, they directly don't send you to see the girl. They first show you the photograph, which might be amended so much, edited so much, beautified so much. There's a lot of experiment from Photoshop, and then this masterpiece might have come. So when you are looking at that masterpiece, you would say that, okay, fine, I think I can see this. So you go there, and before you go there, she might have, don't get me wrong, he or she, anybody. आजकल लड़कों का makeup ज़्यादा चल रहा है rather than girls. So the person might have spent a lot of time with a beautician to cover up all the scars or the blemishes and kind of, so that you get that glossy look kind of a thing, and you present yourself to the boy or girl impressed. Now the photograph that you have seen and the person that you have seen, there is some kind of a match in there. It's a different story that after the marriage, when faces are washed off and then you see the reality, kind of. So do not have anything like a pre-course experimentation. There is a proper way in which one should be. So don't worry, Sir Abhishek, it is not really mandatory. I will tell you what books to study and all. That will be my job. और भी हैं, बहुत सारे लिख रहे बच्चे, देखते हैं. I love this, I completed course recently, very good. Should I take up test series? Why not? You should take up. So as to get corrected, improved. Sir, tests are always necessary. What test you write, that is your wish. Whether you write a daily test or a weekly test, whatever, testing is always mandatory based on your personal requirements. Some of you might think that I want to write daily one question and I want to get it evaluated. Maybe that way you might look for. Or maybe, see, in my opinion, what should happen is these daily writing assignments that you take up, they should be for your self evaluation. So today I have studied these topics. From these topics I will be writing these 3 questions. Let me check my speed. Let me see whether I am able to recall what I have studied. And then maybe once in a week or so, a big test that I will be writing. 3 hours I will sit. See, every day 3 hours is meaningless. Every day 3 hours is meaningless. It will be like eating biryani every day. You won't like it, you will not be able to relish it. So it should be at regular intervals, daily small doses you would. And then on a weekly basis, you should actually celebrate. Sundays and weekends are for celebration. What best way of celebrating rather than writing a 3-hour test? It's as simple as it is. Pratyush, you have to give me the complete question, ma. Single words cannot give me the meaning. Importance of diagrams in anthropology. Mutation also. What is this? How to contact you personally? I am always available on the phone. What should we read before joining? I already told you. My attempt is 2024. What should I do? Madhu, please contact me. And I am giving my mains 2022. Important topics. This person's name is UPSC aspirant. He is asking, ma'am, you might be knowing, Mr. Aspirant, that I give these questions every year. I will be giving in this weekend. You should be able to get those questions. And so first list that I am going to release is going to have 50 different questions. You will start preparing on those 50 questions. In the meantime, I will give the rest of the questions. And Pratyush says, having financial crisis, you please approach, don't worry. Pooja, please meet, please call. Where those questions will be available? Pranit, actually you should be sharing your credentials, maybe your phone number or email ID whatsoever. The link will be sent to you. Okay, so that, yeah. Somebody was asking what percentage of the syllabus is from the core bio. If at all you have syllabus with you, you can see chapter 1.7, paper 1, where you have the basics of cell biology. That is what we call core bio. From there only 2 questions are generally expected. One is protein synthesis, the other is mutation. But then we will see. From there we will see. I mean, we will actually give you the entire stuff, irrespective from which background you come. We will introduce you the cell, the human cell, because for most of us, the moment we say cell, we can't figure out because of our background. I mean, if at all we are coming from, say, social sciences or maybe mathematics kind of things, cell is something that doesn't come into our mind. So we will have to show you what exactly is the human cell. I mean, these things are not more than what science and technology related things that you might be doing in your general studies. So kind of things. They are much less than that. ये एक था. I'll go to the other question paper. I am taking paper 2, 2016 paper. अच्छा, thought वाले questions नहीं देखे थे हम. In some other paper we'll see thought related questions in paper 1. When it comes to paper 2, the same exercise I am trying to do, sir. Here 2 things I will take up. One, as usual, This is my favorite area, sir. UPSC also loves. Both of us love. So we have common love basically. And that's where I think things match. People sometimes ask, do you have contacts with UPSC? How is it that the same questions are coming? That's a secret. Why will I reveal? Even if I have a contact, why will I reveal? Kind of a thing. Now don't make it దీన్ని పతాకాంశం చేయొద్దండి మార్కెట్లో మేడం ఇట్లా అన్నారు అన్నద్దండి అట్లాంటి పాపం. I don't want my name to be heard in some circles of UPSC. నాకెందుకు kind of thing. My mission is to produce as many students as possible. So long as I am alive, I will try to do whatever best I can do. I mean, nothing more than that. If at all name was something that, such kind of a thing was something that I was looking for, I would have been at some other place, not in the corner of Ashok Nagar, kind of. Because I love my teaching, I love visiting places, I love universities like Ethiopia, which are very less known. People do not know. Unless you are preparing for IR, you will not try to understand where Ethiopia is, what bloody people they are, I mean, what kind of stuff they do, kind of things. But then these are the remote places. I have some students from Pakistan who keep studying anthropology from me. I don't reveal these things. Malli anta hamiru mirotena. అలా కాదన్నట్టు. సో అవన్నీ మనం చెప్పాం, చెప్పుకుంటే ఎందుకు బాగోదు. భజన భజన అంటాడు చూడు, అట్లా ఉంటుంది ఎప్పుడు భజన భజన వద్దు అనమాట. సో వీ ట్రై టు ఫోకస్ ఆన్ వాట్ ఈజ్ ఎసెన్షియల్ ఫర్ అస్. ఓకే, archaeology, and then I will also try to highlight certain thinkers. We will see names of thinkers. When I say thinkers, I mean paper 2, sir. So even in paper 2 you have good lot of thinkers who might be Indians, who might be foreigners, foreign anthropologists who might have worked in India, and Indian anthropologists definitely working in India. Can I go? So here, this is one. Mesolithic findings of Belen Valley, that is one archaeology question. This is another one. Ethno-archaeological evidences of survival, etc. Now this is one question which is rather very uncomfortable. Had this been in choice-based questions, you will not take this. But examiner wants you to attempt. That's where he plays mischief with you. So these are the kind of questions where you are not supposed to bluff. And you should actually be learning how to handle the questions which do not have much of a research, which do not have much of a content, but still you have to write an answer. Thermodynamics ante enti annattuga untadi anamata, dharmam plus dynamics anta. Atla kaakunda we will have to actually see how to approach such kind of questions that give us reasonable marks. See, the idea is the average score that we aim for should be about, if it is 500 marks you are looking for, 300 should be an obvious objective that we should have. Not all questions you may be able to get that 60% or 70% marks. The bare minimum of 50 should not be missed out in any question. A bare minimum of 50 should not be missed out, and this 50% will come only if you write content that is relevant for the question. So even if you are not having grand examples and case studies, if you are able to give a meaningful answer, when I am saying this, suppose you do not know anything, somebody had asked a little while ago, if I don't know, what should I do? If you don't know, you don't touch. Don't try to pose as if you know. Okay? I mean, this is a very important thing. Do not worry leaving a couple of questions because you don't know a single word there. Unnecessarily you will be spoiling your image with the examiner, and with that image he goes. With that image he goes. I mean, in the first question itself, which you might have answered towards the end, but then you have bluffed. Rest of the answers when he is evaluating, he is carrying your image in his mind. So do not do that. Okay? And diagrams are pretty important, ma. Diagrams are pretty important in this exam. Pooja, you can actually contact through our office, ma. The team will help you out with the number. So that is that question, if at all you do not know. This is one uncomfortable kind of a thing. Let me take you for further questions on archaeology there. 2 I have marked, sir, 2 10 markers. Narmada man. Salient characteristics of Narmada man and his phylogenetic status. Chalcolithic cultures. So how many? How many questions so far? 4. Marks also you keep writing, sir. I am in the second section here. So we don't have any in the second section. In the first section we had 4 questions as far as the archaeology is concerned. And parallelly, let me also see the individual based questions, meaning thinker based questions. If they are naming the thinker, we can see here Christopher von Führer Hemmendorf, his contributions to the study of. So one should be ready to answer questions on individual thinkers, what they might have studied, what they might have contributed. Don't think that that name looks very weird, why should I study? Oh, that is one thing. I think that was the only question there. Yeah, one more here. Comparative account of Vidyarthi and Majumdar in the study of tribes. 15 marks, so 35 marks out there. These questions actually come from, look at your syllabus, chapter 4, paper 2. Chapter 4, paper 2. Read out. Padhiye, sir. What's your name, sir? What's your name? What's your name? Nagarjuna. Chadavandi. Hardly a couple of lines in the syllabus. Sir, the people who talk little, they have a lot of things to say. Where things are explained, written very elaborately, look at paper 1 for that matter. If you see from chapter 9 to 9.4, every damn thing in a great detail, every point by point is mentioned what has to be studied. And the examiner asks questions from within those terminologies only. But then this particular chapter, chapter 4, paper 2, he says evolution of Indian anthropology, contributions of 18th, 19th and 20th century anthropologists, Indian anthropologists who might have studied Indian and foreign whatever, to the study of tribe and caste in India, kind of things. When we see this, not a single name is mentioned. So which thinkers have to be studied, which have to be omitted, because hundreds of them are there, and that is where we try to handpick. See, these are the mandatory people, these are the heroes, you cannot do away with them. But then in the recent past, something had happened, somebody had written, somebody died, or somebody's centenary celebration had happened, kind of things. Based on various aspects, we try to pick up the thinkers that are necessary for you in the exam, and that's how things are. Comparative kind of questions. Take it. Now, I will take you to another topic. This is 2016 paper 2. First paper 2 देखेंगे and then we will go for paper 1. One other kind of question that occurs in the exam is classification based questions. Classification based questions. When I say classification based of population based on maybe race, language, or maybe some kind of an ethnic identity, classification of a particular entity, say for instance political institutions are there, how they are classified, or tribal populations are there, how they are classified, or maybe thinkers are there, how they are classified, schools of anthropology are there, how they are classified. So classification is one other fashion in anthropology, because that was what Britishers always looked at. Wherever they went, they categorized people, and that they had done even with the discipline also, even with the thinkers who are studying, even with the administrators, everybody are categorized. So categorization was a fashion of the British, and that continues here. So let us see one question: linguistic elements of Indian population. So classification of Indian languages into different groups. Okay, this is one. Let me take you forth. Classification of language. So whenever, so let me say this, whenever this word is used, linguistic elements, racial elements, or economic elements, whenever he says, I mean, look at your syllabus, chapter 6 and chapter 2, paper 2. In chapter 6, when he writes, read out tribal situation in India. ठीक है, once again. ठीक है, second chapter को जाइए, paper 2, chapter 2. Read out the syllabus.
Demographic profile of India, ethnic and linguistic elements in the Indian population, their distribution.
ठीक है, thank you. So there are two places here. One is chapter 2, the other is chapter 6. In both the cases, he is using the classifications. At one place, he is clearly mentioning classification, the term. In the other chapter, in chapter 2, he is using the word elements. You know? When he says elements, he is actually asking you to write about classification. So suppose the question is economic elements of tribal population in India, linguistic elements of tribal population or Indian population in India. You are supposed to give the classifications. When we say classifications, sir, when you go on studying the subject, you will realize this, that say racial elements are there, linguistic elements are there. It is not a single person that might have studied. There are several people, one after the other, who had studied these characteristics in Indian population, tribal population, etc. See, most of you might be knowing this. That is, we have this topic of biogenetic variability or racial classifications. So there are huge number of people who try to categorize the world populations, Indian populations into different racial groups. Are you there? So sometimes what examiners do is they try to ask questions pinpointedly giving the name of the thinker. Say Risley's racial classification of Indian population, or maybe Grierson's linguistic classification of Indian population. They are clearly mentioning the name of the thinker. So we will have to see if 12 or 20 different classifications are there, which one I am supposed to pick up. Is it that all 20 I should write? No, that's what is the puzzle. Okay. So this is one, linguistic elements. We are trying to see classification based questions. This is in a sense such a classification. Discuss how cultural diversity of Indian tribes has enriched the plural tradition. So we are talking about different traditions and how these pluralistic traditional aspects have framed Indian society, how cultural diversity was. So when we say different traditions, we will be speaking about belief system wise tradition, or maybe economic institutions wise traditions, or maybe perhaps social institutions wise. So several other things we will take up, and that's something like a complex question. These are the kind of questions that do not pay as much. So where things like an abstract element is there, try to avoid the abstract questions. These are not the kind of questions that we recommend for the students. Instead, maybe perhaps look at this. This could be much better one. Describe the traditional patterns of settlements in Indian villages. I mean, when we are comparing these two, here there are proper studies that are there. When how settlements are actually formed. Who studied settlements in Indian village? Is there a caste element in the settlements? Things are there. So when you are picking up, this would have been a less paying question when compared to the other ones. Let me go to the other classification based questions. Biogenetic variability of Indian tribes, that is ethnic classification. Biogenetic variability. So those are some. Okay. We'll try to look at the paper 1 of the same year to see theory based questions, anthropological theory based questions. 2016 paper 1, sir. When I am saying anthropological theory based questions, it may be directly the thinker, or it may be the theory, or any concept related to a theory. Now, coming with the first one, cultural relativism, that is a topic within anthropological theory. Functionalism is one topic within theory. So, 2 questions, 20 marks out there. Anyway, they are compulsory, you cannot say no to them. And then you have this one, I am reading out for you. According to Geeds, how does the cockfight reveals aspects of Balinese culture? Look at your syllabus, chapter 6, paper 1. You find this name anywhere? You find this name anywhere? Symbolic and interpretative anthropology. Symbolic and interpretative anthropology. 2 names are given. Turner, Schneider, Geeds. Turner, Schneider and Geeds. Geeds is one of them on which question was asked. See, the reason why we narrate the stories in the classes, from the stories many times questions do come. Here the question was on Balinese cockfights. Such kind of narrations we gave, like you might have heard about pig feasts. We offer pigs to people. Why do we offer pigs? And then, what happens if we offer pigs? Kind of. I will see to it that you enjoy the whole thing. This is what we learn in anthropology, sir. We are not supposed to be judgmental. That is very important. After all, you are going to join the bureaucracy, and if you are posted in such a region where nothing of your culture is found, and you have to meet people, you have to stay with the people, and you have to live there where nothing of your culture is there. Being in bureaucracy, you cannot simply walk off, you cannot simply make faces. That is considered to be very disrespectful towards the others. It's as simple as it is. So the crux of anthropology is to respect the others. The crux of anthropology is to not to judge the other people, their cultures whatsoever. Okay, sir. Now coming here, cockfights was one. And generally, when I describe stories, people might be wondering why stories are given. Stories are given for this reason. Question was asked based on the narration of cockfight. So I am giving you questions related to anthropological theory. Yeah. There is the other one, Levi-Strauss structural analysis of kinship. Which number, sir? How many? How many so far? In the first question 2 were there, and then you had Geeds. This is the 4th one, Levi-Strauss. Fieldwork tradition is actually partially linked to anthropological theory. So chapter 8, if you could see chapter 8 once again, sir, we had visited chapter 8 a little while ago. Describe the evolution of fieldwork traditions in anthropology, because these 2 things are done together basically, chapter 6 and chapter 8. 6 talks about evolution of theory, 8 talks about evolution of fieldwork. How anthropological theory evolved through fieldwork, that is the narration we are going to do. So technically this is a combination of 6 and 8, so I can take it as question 5. So these are some that are from the core anthropology, 5 questions. But then let me also give you some inputs on how at other places thinkers from the core anthropological thought can be put to use. Randomly I am giving some examples. This exercise we should be doing for all the questions in the syllabus. Let me have a look at this, namely say heredity and environment, a role of heredity and environment in the formation of races. What are the different factors affecting growth and development in human beings? To look at where they are located, look at your syllabus 9.5 paper 1. Look at your syllabus 9.5 paper 1. It talks about race formation, factors related to race formation, race formation, race crossing, things like that. And then go to chapter 10. go to chapter 10, growth and development, factors affecting human growth and development, stages of human growth and things like that. I mean, if at all we observe, this looks to be incorporated in the larger domain of biological anthropology. But then any topic goes into the subject of anthropology only if some anthropologists might have worked on those topics. And those particular thinkers should mandatorily be there as a part of your explanation, even if the explanation seems to be biological. Am I there? Am I there? So, I mean, so that the people who are actually maybe trying to work out, trying to understand where thinkers have to be incorporated, you will get an idea. Growth and development related studies in anthropology were conducted by Franz Boas. Very obviously, he had conducted growth and development studies. This name you might have come across in anthropological theory in what we call what? Historical particularism. In the school of historical particularism, you might have come across this name. Now, this was a man who studied the human growth patterns in a comparison. He studied the Japanese population in a comparison with American population. He was trying to have a comparison. See, as children, as children, you might have measured yourself so many times. Your parents must have measured you the height that you are growing. Height and weight are the two major indicators whenever you are visiting a hospital. In the childhood, people were doing that, and if you are a doctor, you are also doing that. You know, whenever children, I mean infants are coming, you are trying to do that, measuring the length and weight or height and weight of the individuals. I mean, height and weight seems to be major indicators of growth and development. So whether you are a stunted fellow or you are growing more than necessary kind of stuff, that's what happened in the COVID also. Unnecessary growth in the children had happened. Suddenly they grew by a meter addition to what they should have been, kind of stuff. Now here what happens is that he was trying to see, there are certain Japanese families that have migrated to the USA. His idea of study was, if environment is changing, is there going to be a change in the growth pattern? Meaning, WHO releases from time to time the growth curves related to major racial stocks and sometimes for individual nationalities also. If at all you want to study how your child, you are a normal resident of India, for example, you cannot measure your child based on the graphs that are given for, say, a European population. There would definitely be differences. Maybe for a comparison you would do at what speed they might be growing, what is the average they might be attaining when compared to average of Indian child. This is one. Okay. So there was a comparison he was making, Japanese homeland, how children were growing, American homeland, how the natives are growing. In the migrants, when Japanese populations migrated to the USA, how exactly the change had occurred in the Japanese people. Is it that they continued to grow at the same pace at which the people in the original homeland are growing, or is it that there is an intermittent range between these and them? Are you following what I am saying? So this was a massive study. And in the study of children, he measured not less than 19,000 children. So it was like, utte, baithte, sote, khate, pite, every time you have your calipers with you, you have your measuring tape with you, and what all things to measure. That is so incredible. And then if at all you are not writing Boasian study in human growth, your answer is incomplete, because that was the foundational element there. Are you there? Same thing several people tried to do in Indian population also. We will see in the regular classes. Which other Indian thinkers tried to imitate? So generally everybody has a role model, and Boas was a role model for several people. And whatever he had done, people tried to implement, and that's how things are. Are there? See one story I gave you for today. Similarly, formation of races. Formation of races, people were involved, so many of them. People were there, like Risley, you have Guha, you have Sarkar, Hutton, Haddon, huge number of them who were trying to write on how heredity and environment play a role in the race formation. Is it that your skin tone is because of heredity or because of environment? Is it because of heredity or environment, your skin tone? Both. How? Did you change at your birth and now? సో పుట్టినప్పుడు ఎర్రగా బుర్రగా ఉండి ఇప్పుడు నల్లగా నున్నగా తయారై, I mean, if at all you think, I'll give you something. There used to be one advertisement. ठीक है? We don't know what they are trying to say. You'll understand towards the end. So a childbirth happens. She is there in the hospital. Baby is there in the manger. He comes. She is a white female. He is also a white female. I mean, not the white in the sense of Europeans, rather browns like us. But then fairer in tone. So fair. The camera goes into the manger. You see a pitch black fellow in there. Immediately a caption comes. Do you need a divorce lawyer? I mean, you need not actually have to say a single word. Such a beautiful advertisement, basically. I mean, it is thoroughly racist, that's a different story. And it shows very clearly that the person who is making the advertisement doesn't understand how the genetics operate. It might be quite possible that there are certain sleepy genes. My great-grandfather's grandfather was pitch black in complexion because of the Ethiopian connection whatsoever. I'm not a racist. So, kind of, the gene was not representing itself, but then over a period of time, it so happened that it expressed itself. And this fellow came. How do you blame me for that? है ना? मजा आ गया? So those are a few. Now the next set of things that I am going to talk about are related to very contemporary things and what we call applied anthropology. That I think is the last one that I will take up. Otherwise शाम तक हम बात करेंगे, because teachers are those who do not leave the mic. Can we use different color pens like blue and black? You won't have time, Bhanu Prakash. You won't have time, because you won't have time in the exam to scratch your head. So you'll need neighbor's help to scratch your head. So I don't think you will be able to change your pen. You may perhaps train yourself at the time of pictures, etc. For underlining, it is not really possible. I have idea about all topics, but unable to write detailed description about answers. What do you suggest? You have to write them. I mean, if you have an idea, you are not able to express. The problem is you are not writing. See, whatever your emotions are, you have to say outright. How will she understand if you don't say? You have to say out. You will have to say. You will have to talk. You will have to start writing. No? Expression is very important. Geography also affects. I didn't understand, ma. Bhanu, geography also affects. Ante నాకు అర్థం కాలేదు. అచ్చా, yeah, intelligent. Geography also, right. If you ask my personal contact and all, there is nothing personal in my life, ma. My life is more than an open book. At least books can be closed. My life is like that. No? Scattered open pages. You can pick up any page, read, okay, fine, and keep it there. Pick up on, kind of. So there is nothing personal. My phone will be there with the staff only. If at all you call, I mean, they would take care of you and me also. Can I add my personal view also on certain questions, and Is there any possibility that critique is wrong? Usha, if at all you would want to add something personal, don't say that I feel this. We are nothing. Who are you to say? So a question was asked on some racial element, linguistic element. The gentleman Grierson must have spent about 20 years to categorize Indian languages. He gave his life to the task. And simply by seeing in a 2 minutes of time, you cannot judge. So what you have to do is, if at all you have to give your personal views, look for the thinker who might be having the views like what you have. And shoot from his shoulder. You are nothing. We are nothing. We are not supposed to say, I feel like this. Even if the examiner asks, present your views on so and so things. He has asked, present your views. Doesn't mean that you give all your views. Very personal domain. No. You should be analyzing how different people have thought and conclude. Not using in a first person. I hope. While writing answers in the exam, is there any professional language required, or can we go with the flow of formal language? I do not understand formal and professional. Every subject has got its own vocabulary. So you should use the vocabulary. So if the question is on cultural relativism, you will use the word cultural relativism. You cannot say that I will use some alternative to that. We are not there for it. Or question is on Purushartha, you will write about Purushartha. Don't try to give your own kind of a vocabulary. I mean, if at all you are reading the subject, actually you will definitely. Any specific questions you have in mind? Anything, any random question. Ji. Relationship between anthropology and geography. Generally we study this as a part of chapter 1.3 paper 1, but then I will tell you. A relationship one relationship is that several geographers became anthropologists. I am not talking about people shifting the optional. I am not talking about them. I am talking about formal geographers who emerged as anthropologists. So people like Boas, they studied geography. That's incredible actually. And so there are certain commonalities like race formation, studies geography, or for that matter you have ecological anthropology, chapter 9.7 paper 1, ecological anthropology. You see how ecological situations, geographical situations might be influencing populations. You have nutritional anthropology where your food subsistence depends on the geography and environment. So culture is something that is also partially determined by geography. It is not that geography alone influences. If geography alone should be influencing, all coastal populations should be fish eating populations. We don't find it like that. But then geography is a powerful element of deciding your culture, and because of that we try to study geography within anthropology. And even in the core anthropological thinkers also, we have some who came from geography discipline and things like that. And the beauty of anthropology is, because this is the youngest of the social sciences, we see people coming from all the other social sciences and life sciences and other scientific disciplines. Everybody would come, let out their feelings. So anthropology is nothing but the feelings that were let out by thinkers from all other disciplines. Or
In GS1 Indian society, the question is regarding caste. Can we use the thinkers of anthropology definitions of them? Can we write over this?
you can use the thinkers and all, but don't make it a professional anthro answer. Otherwise you are shouting out to the examiner that, see, I am from here, give me marks. So definitely you can use, because these are common names, like Ramahuja's Indian Society, that is, or Social Problems in India, Ramahuja. These are the common books that we recommend for Indian society. So the same things we also recommend for the subject of anthropology. From where we get current affairs? Uh, there are two broad things, sir. As long as we are doing the course, we will give. Once you are done, we will name certain journals. जैसा हम बता रहे थे previously also. We will name certain journals. From there, you can pick up the current things. One shortcut maybe for you is whenever you are going for a reference. Generally, 2 to 3 months before your exam, it is advisable to visit the library, scan through the journals, so that you will know what all topics have come. So in those topics, you will get an idea of current developments or some publications that have. This is one, which might look to be slightly a laborious thing. Okay. Second is we cannot depend on every random newspaper for anthropology related current affairs. There is a sensationalization of things, so we don't believe every other newspaper. Instead of that, maybe perhaps I have been doing this compilations we have been providing in the anthropological news diaries on a daily basis. I am doing, though people are saying that daily kaun padega, आप monthly compilation दो kind of a thing. अब दिल मांगे मोर आप कितना भी दो पूछेंगे ही, but then that is one place where you can actually kind of, ठीक है. और ये ना range of marking, range of evaluation etla jarugutundi. So I am giving a generic kind of a thing, or maybe here itself you have one, discuss the genetic, non-genetic factors, biocultural adaptation kind of things. Role of anthropology in designing defense and other equipments. अगर आप पहला वाला देखेंगे, role of anthropology in designing defense and other equipments. Sir, these questions, if you observe, 2016 I have picked this question from. They might have given this question because of some development in that year. Suppose the same question comes up now, you will not be writing the same answer altogether, because the reason why a question might have come is different this year. So in the opening paragraph itself, if you are confident enough that this has come because of certain development in the recent past, and that has to go into your answer, that shows that you are better equipped to answer the question, number one. Second thing is, if you look at that question, role of anthropology in designing defense and other equipment, whatever, the understanding of the terminology is important, sir. When he says anthropology, your answer is different from, if at all the term was anthropometry. In some of the exams they have asked anthropometry and defense. When you say anthropometry, you are clearly focusing on measurements and designing of equipment. But if it is anthropology, it is not simply metric measurements, you are also to write about how cultural understanding is used in establishing defense related things. So suppose you have studied in your material only the things related to measurement of people, racial elements of people, then you are only answering to half an extent. So your marking will be based on that 50% only. You are evaluated for 50% only. You get my point. So you may think that, okay, I have written the best of it, but you have written only half of it. And in any question for that matter, either current applications are necessary, or why a particular thing might have been asked in that particular year, that understanding has to be there. Did I reach you? ठीक है? Anything else? Should we prepare notes on each topic? Definitely you should prepare. Notes is very, very important. What is the relevance of anthropology in contemporary world? Definitely it is important for a UPSC. I mean, this is one full-fledged topic, sir, relevance of anthropology in today's world. Take up any department for that matter. Say you are posted in Ministry of Commerce, okay? You have to deal with trade policies. If you have to deal with trade policies, you should know what are the decisions taken by a particular country in because of their cultural preferences. So if you are a trader, if you are an exporter, you are a manufacturer, you should know what is the preference of that particular country, that particular population. You are a garment designer, you are a manufacturer of say mobile phones, you are a designer of say cars. What suits a European market may not be suiting the Indian market. You might have Lamborghinis that actually have the entire body almost kissing the ground. That is fine in certain countries, but then in a country like the one with the bumpy roads, you will have to actually go with somebody to toll your vehicle every time. So I don't think when you are designing the garments, the color choices and the color choices also. Just imagine a very beautiful light yellow color car that might suit the coastal region of Europe, but then if at all I bring the same car onto these roads, just imagine in the roads of Charminar you are trying to do this, and everywhere out you have people chewing the pan and trying to decorate your car with the paint of the pan. It has to be a cultural specificity. So anthropology is important in the trade relations, in establishing contacts with the others, and in understanding the cultures, how they are changing, how exactly the nutritional needs are changing. It is useful everywhere. That's applied anthropology. And definitely Archita, you can contact our team, they'll help you out. Should we prepare notes based on your class notes and reference books? If you are my student, you can do that, sir. But then don't try to rewrite the whole thing. If you have attended the class, you have spent your laborious hours in the class listening to the horrible lectures and taking down the notes. You don't try to redo the exercise because you paid and you have already written something. Things that are other than what are actually dictated, those you will be writing your short notes from the material. Time division of
There are 5 questions.
Generally we go by the number of words, sir. So suppose you are writing 3000 words per, so we try to see to it that shorter questions, 10 markers. I mean, when you are trying at home, you try to finish in about 5 minutes of time, so that in the actual exam, even if it spells out into 7, you are able to do that. And the general principle is that for every mark 1 minute. That's how we look at it. But then that looks to be a luxury. We'll have to slightly cut it short. So 75% you should be. So if it is a 10 marker, maximum you should stretch is 7 minutes only. Definitely there is some time goes here and there. Looking at your neighbor, exchanging pleasantries because after a long time you see your friend. So it takes some time. Or in certain questions you need to spend time on framing your answer. So you save some time for those questions. Sir?
Any idea can get on the question at last? Should have attempted.
That's what I said. Even if you are attempting towards the end, there is a proper sequence, right? The booklet is given in a sequence. So suppose the first question you don't know anything, whether you are writing towards the end or in the beginning, I mean generally the best of the answers you will write first. That formula you go. But if you do not know anything, don't bluff. At least if you could make some sense out of the question, you can. Some term which you do not know, if that comes.
The last question that will give on the first. The marks will be avoided time or after evaluating all the questions marks.
No, marks will be definitely given in that sequence only. I mean generally so. Uh, but then, suppose a question is there in the first paragraph, a question on nationalism. You made a big boo-boo there, which is anti-anthropological, which shows very clearly your lack of understanding of the subject. Even if the examiner is evaluating based on what you have actually written for the rest of the questions, there would definitely be that image. After all, that is not a machine that is evaluating. As long as humans are evaluating, this kind of subjectivity will definitely be there. So Rahul, that particular book of Sapines, it's a casual read, sir. We will not take it to in a grand way to the subject. It's a casual read on the weekend. So, am I allowed to go? Calling off the session. Thank you so much, everybody.